Today we're talking about the Sirui 35mm f1.8 and my experience with using this lens with the Sigma FP and FPL. A couple weeks ago, Sirui reached out and asked if I wanted to do an honest review of this lens, and while this lens is a little bit older, it did recently get released for RF and L mount cameras, and obviously, I use a Sigma FP, which is in the L mount alliance. And so I felt like it was a good opportunity to bring this lens to you all. And so with that, let's get into what I think about this lens, starting first with the overall image performance of the lens. Now, right off the bat, my hesitation in using this lens is the fact that it is a 1.33 squeeze. And if you're familiar with anamorphic lenses, the 1.33 squeeze factor is not going to give you a ton of that anamorphic characteristic. You're obviously going to have some of the flaring, but you are going to lose out on some of the distortion as well as the bokeh. And so I was hesitant to use this lens, but I will say the 1.33 squeeze factor was a nice balance in the fact that the Sigma FP and FPL both shoot at a 16:9 ratio. Now, eventually I would like to test some of their lenses that have a larger squeeze factor, but for now I do like how the 1.33 squeeze factor does perform with the FP and FPL. Now, another thing I like about the 35mm, and one reason why I accepted the 35mm, is because I've always been told that the 35mm is the one that has the more organic look of all the ones in this set. The streaks aren't super saturated, they're not overdone, everything feels a little bit more organic. We went on a shoot at night and there were lights everywhere, and I didn't feel like the flares were overly obnoxious, and you just don't get that with filters or even other anamorphic lenses. And so I do feel like the 35mm offers something a little bit more organic. Now, with the 1.8 aperture, you have some nice subject isolation, and it does perform really well in low light, especially with the FP. Now, just like any anamorphic lens, this is not going to have great minimum focusing distance. Now, that's an easy solution. I found these cheap $20 diopters. I think they're like $20 or $30, and I'll put a link to these diopters in the description below. But this is a set of inexpensive diopters that you can use to get a little bit better minimum focusing distance performance. Now, something you may want to be aware of is the lens does display some chromatic aberration. Now, if you're looking for a lens with character, a lot of the times you're able to look past chromatic aberration. But overall, as far as image performance, I'm really happy with how this lens does perform. It offers such a good, sharp, but yet organic look coming out of this lens, and I love every bit of that, especially using it with the Sigma FP. It just creates cinematic gold. So with that, let's talk about what I think about the build of the lens as well as some build features. So something I do enjoy about the build of this lens is while it is smaller and compact for an anamorphic lens, it is really sturdy and dense. It's not overly dense, but it does have a good hefty build to it. You are going to have a 67mm filter thread, and so keep that in mind. If you're using larger filters, you may have to use step-up rings. This is going to be an all-manual lens, and so you will have a physical aperture ring as well as a focus ring. Now, the lens does come with a focus gear as well as an aperture gear if you do want to use a follow focus unit, and so that does come with the lens. At least it came with my copy. I don't know if older versions of the lens came with those rings, but the L mount version that I received did come with the focus and iris gears. And so as far as the build of the lens, just a really well made all metal design. Really happy with the build of the lens. And so with that, let's talk about my overall thoughts and who I'd recommend this lens to. First off, overall thoughts. I loved my experience in using this lens. Honestly, if you're a filmmaker trying to find something that makes your images stand out, this is absolutely a lens I would look at. I said it in the title and I said it before, this combo makes just cinematic gold. You can shoot almost anything with this lens and create that more cinematic look. And I hate using that word because it gets overused on this platform, but it's true. It makes everything look like a film or like a movie. And of course, who doesn't love that? And so if you are somebody that is a budget filmmaker looking for a lens that's going to offer you that organic or filmic look that we've associated with bigger productions, then I would absolutely check out the Sirui 35mm f1.8. And so that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to give it a like. And if you are into the channel, if you're into the Sigma FP, FPL, or the L mount alliance, definitely consider subscribing to the channel. And as always, thank you for joining. Go and find your journey. Go embrace life. Peace. Give me a bang. With your fist.